But in those 15 days, in those days that they're laying an egg, they're still out in the fields and the openings and stuff, grazing around, feeding. And that's an attraction for the toms. The gobblers will still go and harass that hen and like strut for her and put on a show and gobble, shot gobble, and try to still attract that hen. They'll still do their thing because that hen, that visual cue, that's driving them nuts. That's getting them fired up. They see that hen and they'll go right into strut and start gobbling and do their thing. That hen's actually already impregnated. She's already laying her eggs. But she'll soon, that hen's not going to stand her ground. That hen's not going to show interest in them anyway. She's a nesting hen. She's going to wander off to her nest and lay another egg. And then once they're all laid, she'll be on that nest for like the 28 days till. I don't know if you know this, but you will after today. Now, research and studies have shown and have shown that the gobbling from the toms, from your male eastern wild turkey, the gobbling starts peaking the last week of March. Here it is like the beginning of the second week of March. So another couple weeks, the gobbling's not going to pick up and start peaking until about the last week of March, towards the first week of April. That's when the gobbling starts heating up, and it's about that same time frame, year after year after year. And research and stuff has proven that, shown that, and data and stuff that's out there. If you listen to a lot of podcasts on turkey, about turkey hunting and turkey behavior, turkey biology, you'll learn these cool, intricate, neat little facts, stuff about the eastern wild turkey. So that gobbling's going to pick up heavy in another couple weeks here. The last week of March, going into the beginning of April, and then on through April and May. Obviously the gobbling is going to peak, but it really peaks. It peaks full bore in those few weeks, those early weeks of April, and it kind of peters out, and it's a little more sporadic, the amount of gobbling and stuff that the male turkey will exude throughout the day and stuff, and through the mating season. And another thing too is the hens can be receptive and mate. The mating turkey, eastern wild turkey, can mate all through April and May, and maybe like leading up to just the very beginning part of June. But they have like a 2-month window to mate. The hens have 2 months to become pregnant and to go on to their nesting area and to lay their eggs. And the mating really peaks and heats up in the middle to late April. April seems to be their heaviest mating time of the year, because once May comes, you got a lot of all your vegetation's growing, your grasses are growing taller, and there's a lot of food. The days are getting warmer. The rains have subsided. The spring rains are a little less around like mid-May, late May. It's not so much rain, so that it doesn't drown out the nests and stuff. And the hens, they all start going to nest. They start laying their eggs. And I don't know if you know this, but this is another really cool fact about eastern wild turkey hens. It's a cool fact about hen egg laying. They lay an egg a day until all eggs are laid, and then they'll incubate, lay on their nest, and stay on the nest for like 28 days straight. They'll get up and stretch and move around, and they'll wiggle around the nest, but they'll stay with the nest and incubate for nearly a month straight till the eggs hatch. But before all eggs are laid, they're laying an egg a day until all like 8 to 15 eggs are laid. The first clutch of eggs, the hen could lay as much as 15, 16, somewhere around like 12 to 15 or 16 eggs in the first clutch. Now, if they go on to lose that nest, all those eggs, they can re-nest again, but the second nesting might only have 8 eggs, 6 or 8 eggs. They're only going to have the half amount of eggs that they laid the previous nesting time. And so the hens, they can lay eggs upwards 2 or 3 times. So they have a couple times in the mating season to have a successful clutch, to have some eggs hatch and get their little poults come out of the eggs. And the month of April, at least here in the Northeast, in Maine especially, the breeding is substantial, like in the month of April. And it kind of peters out, slows down in May. And our hunting season here in Maine for eastern wild turkey hunting is actually in May. It's actually towards the end of the breeding season, and the gobbling a lot of times is very minimal. They might gobble heavy on the roost, and then the gobblers, the toms, will fly down. They might shot gobble a couple times, gobble a little bit, strut a little bit, and then they like shut right up like an hour, 2 hours after fly down of the roost, like in May. And then they kind of go quiet. You might be able to get a shot gobble out of them and get a rise out of them by calling a little bit. Stuff you might be able to coax them in. The hunting season in Maine comes on in Maine when the peak of the breeding and the peak of the gobbling activity and stuff, strutting activity has kind of subsided a bit. It's not as heavily, they're not really exuding all that behavior as much in May as they did in April. It's extremely peaked all month of April, the toms are strutting galore. They're gobbling their heads off like constantly, and they're really after them hens, and they're like, the breeding it's heaviest in April, and then starts petering off, starts kind of waning off, slowing down into May. And come May, the hens start laying their eggs. So they go to their nesting area. The hens might still be up and feeding and moving around to attract gobblers, the toms, to that area. But those hens, they're laying an egg a day, every day, till they're all laid. And then they'll go and incubate and lay on their nest for 28 days straight. The hens will still move around, get up. They might feed a little bit around the immediate area right at their nest, and they'll stretch a bit, move around and shift their body and stuff. But they'll stay with the nest and incubate for nearly a month, like 28 days straight, until the eggs hatch. But in those 15 days, in those days that they're laying an egg, they're still out in the fields and the openings and stuff, grazing around, feeding. And that's an attraction for the toms. The gobblers will still go and harass that hen and like strut for her and put on a show and gobble, shot gobble, and try to still attract that hen. They'll still do their thing, because that hen, that visual cue, that's driving them nuts, that's getting them fired up. They see that hen and they'll go right into strut and start gobbling and do their thing. But beknownst to them, that gobbler, that hen's actually already impregnated. She's already laying her eggs. But that hen's not going to stand her ground. That hen's not going to show interest in them anyway. She's a nesting hen. She's going to wander off to her nest and lay another egg. And then once they're all laid, she'll be on that nest for like the 28 days till they're all laid. In the next video, I'm going to explain and go over with you about the shift, the turkey habitat shifts from winter to spring to summer. They have ranges and they have shifts all throughout the year. Where you found a super concentration of turkey, one for a few weeks or a month, all of a sudden that area could go stone cold, and those turkey have moved, and they have spread out, and they're sporadic throughout their home range, and they've shifted. And there's reasons around that, reason why. I'm going to go over all that in the next video, the shift. And clearly you should already know this about deer, white-tailed deer. They have certain ranges. They have shifts too throughout the year. They got like their winter yarding area, the areas where they kind of hang all winter long, and then come spring, when the snow melts and they can find more food and they can wander more freely throughout their home range, they shift. The deer shift too and move on to the areas where they hang for the spring, and on to where they hang the majority of the summer and into the fall. They have their shifts throughout the year. So do the eastern wild turkey. They got those shifts going on, and especially leading up to the mating season and hunting season and stuff like that. I'm going to go over all that in the next video, explaining the reasons behind that, why, and it's also, I'm going to go over in the next video how you can go about finding those turkey hot spots, hunting hot spots in the spring, and go about reading their sign and stuff, and honing in on where you should focus your hunting efforts and finding that mature tom, that big gobbler that you're hoping to get this spring. So that'll be the next video, but I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned some really cool facts about the eastern wild turkey, and hope you learned something. If you learned at least one thing in this video, then I've done my job, and I'm satisfied with that. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the video. All right, hey, smash that like button before you go, everybody, could you please? And if you're not subscribed to Spikes and Gills, yeah, could you please subscribe now? Click that notification bell so you're notified of all future uploads. I greatly appreciate the extra support. Follow, and yeah, before you go, click that like button. Hey, drop comment below too if you could. I'd love to hear from all of you. So please leave your comments below. Click that like button before you go. Subscribe to Spikes and Gills if you're not already. I'd greatly appreciate the extra support. Follow, appreciate it. All right, so see you in the next video. See you next time.